All right, man. Peace. So this dude Joe Mixon, he's about to be drafted by some team in the NFL, and the liberal media doesn't like it. So they're going to go about attempting to assassinate his name as much as possible so that he can drop in the draft. You have to understand for every slot you drop in the so-called NFL draft, which is pretty much just a modern day slave auction, quote unquote. For every slot that you drop in the draft, you lose money. So they pretty much relegated themselves to the fact that he is going to be drafted, right? So now they're trying to besmirch him as much as possible so that he can drop as low in the draft as possible. So let's see how they cover this issue with Joe Mixon.
Joe Mixon buries the hatchet with the woman he viciously punched a few years ago.
Now you see that he purposefully omitted the part where the female attacked him first, right? The female pushed him and then slapped him viciously, and then he punched her viciously and idiotically because he was somewhere that he was not supposed to be.
Right before the NFL draft. Welcome to TMZ Sports. Van here with Michael J. Babcock.
What's up, Van?
What's up is Joe Mixon. Joe Mixon, of course, we've all seen the video that threatened to derail his entire football career. Joe Mixon brutally punching an Oklahoma student after an altercation a couple of years ago.
2014 on the campus of Oklahoma, and it was a brutal attack, Van. Joe went through the criminal process, but there was...
No, it was a brutal self-defense. It was a brutal self-defense.
There was this civil suit that was hanging over him. The victim, Amelia Molitor, was asking for more than $70,000 from Joe.
She sued Joe for intentional infliction of emotional distress and was demanding $70,000. The two parties have met up and talked.
And that was for damage control. That was for, that was a PR move, an intelligent PR move that he had to make because he had to appear as though he took the blame for the situation, the complete and total blame, that it was his fault that he was pushed and slapped by the female, and that by no means should he have responded to her attacking him by defending himself, because he has no right to defend himself against a female. That is what is stipulated by this current society. So he needed to do that for himself, because he has to be able to bring that forth to the mainstream news and to the NFL, that he's not going to be a problem, that he's not going to be a quote-unquote black mark on the league.
One-on-one, Van. A one-on-one conversation with each other.
And there's apparently been a settlement in this situation, terms of which have yet to be disclosed.
It was intelligent for him to settle early, because it's better to settle now rather than try to settle after you get the contract and you've already dropped in the draft, and she's probably going to ask for even more money based on how much, the contract that you signed. And he's already lost he's already lost in the court of public opinion. It's better to settle early than settle late.
But some really interesting quotes coming out of the whole situation.
So Mixon and Amelia, they actually released a statement together. Here's some of what they said. They said, Joe and I were able to meet privately without any attorneys and talk about our experiences since that night.
Yeah, you talked about your experiences since that night. You running around playing the victim role and probably getting drunk out of your mind every night. And you probably forgot half of what occurred that night because you most likely have some type of substance abuse issue, as most young females in college have, that also have victimization issues and lack of accountability.
I am encouraged that we will both be able to move forward from here with our lives.
In other words, the nigga agreed to pay me a certain amount of money, and I agreed to be quiet.
Our lives. From our private discussions, I am satisfied that we are going to put this behind us and work towards helping others who may have found themselves in similar circumstances.
In other words, he's gonna walk around and speak against any form of physical interaction between men and women, no matter what the situation is. And I'm going to walk around and make a lot of money doing speaking engagements about domestic violence. That's what that translates to. All right. That Caucasian female, she's about to make a lot of money as a speaker against domestic violence.
And for Joe's part, he also had a specific portion of the statement where he said, "I was able to apologize to her one-on-one. The way I reacted that night, that's not me. That's not the way I was raised. I think she understands that."
For the both of them, this is as well as this could have ended. That they seem to understand each other. They seemed, Joe seems to have apologized, and she clearly has forgiven him. I'll tell you why this is huge, though. The NFL draft is next week, and Joe Mixon has the talent to be a first-round draft pick, but people didn't even know if he was going to be drafted because he had this incident hanging over his head.
He's definitely going to be drafted.
No, he will. You didn't know where.
And the situation is how high.
Right, but now that she has forgiven him, his victim has forgiven him.
Here's the thing, though. She's forgiven him, and it really seems, if you're listening to these quotes, and there's no reason to take them as anything but incredibly sincere, that they've actually found some type of catharsis between them, some type of situation between them.
No catharsis, just resolution. He needed to get rid of this issue so that he can make his money, and she needed to get rid of this issue so that she can make her money. Like I've stated in the past, 99% of these problems are resolved through money, and they occur and fester because of money.
The video remains still something that NFL teams will have to answer questions about if and when they draft Joe Mixon.
The video will always be terrible from here on for the rest of history. The issue would be...
The rest of history. Act like this dude bombed Pearl Harbor or something.
Would be, if a team drafted Joe, what would the backlash be? But I don't think the backlash will be nearly as intense, because if the girl who is the victim is not mad at Joe anymore, then what right do you have to be mad at Joe?
That doesn't matter. That doesn't matter. Whether the so-called victim is angry or not, that's irrelevant. People always want something to be upset about. It has nothing to do whether it's valid or legitimate or not. All right, people are still mad at Michael Vick for what he did. They just say that they're so-called dog lovers or animal rights lovers. All right, that has nothing to do with whether or not someone will choose to be upset. Most people are upset with young so-called black men anyway. No, now they actually have a reason to justify their anger at him.
I disagree.
And I think that clears the way.
Yeah, but I disagree. The reason why I disagree is because shortly after the Ray Rice video happened, first of all, Ray Rice and Janae Rice never broke up. And then we also saw them get married. We saw them get married after that video. We saw them come back together after. They're doing fantastic.
I think that was a little bit of a different dynamic.
No, but listen, hear me out. They're doing fantastically. They've been doing a lot of stuff. Still, though, to a lot of people, they can't see what type of man Ray Rice has done, all the things he's done because of the video.
That has nothing to do with it. The reason why Ray Rice is not in the NFL is because his last year in the NFL, he wasn't playing well. He couldn't play. It's all about how well you can play and what you can bring to a team. If Joe Mixon couldn't play, if he went to the combine and had terrible numbers, they would have said, you know what, you're not good enough to be in the NFL, and they would have used the justification of good form. He's a woman beater anyway.
I agree. I think there's a little different dynamic there because they were together before that happened. They were in a relationship. They knew each other. There's no reason for Joe Mixon and his victim to have any type of relationship or to ever have spoken
together. There was a reason. There was a reason. For her, the reason would have been financial. And for him, the reason, to a large degree, would have also been financial.
Exactly. Finally, the so-called black man has his thinking cap on.
Financial, because she wants the money from the settlement. They did reach a settlement in this situation, and for his part of it, he wants to go on and be drafted higher in the NFL draft next week. So there was a reason.
Points. I really do believe, though, that this lessens the blow, and I believe this really helps Joe.
Well, I mean, listen, the guy's a first-round talent.
Yeah.
If any teams, out there are willing to take a flyer on him because of this now, then I guess he made the right decision.
All right, so now we're going to pick up on the Joe Mixon issue with a roundtable discussion on this show right here. And you're going to see, please notice the demographics of the contributors to the panel. You're going to have the one so-called black man there with the hat on, surrounded by three Caucasians. Now, please notice the difference in tone in how they speak about Joe Mixon.
All right, welcome back. Don't adjust your television. Two of the best-looking people on TV on the set right now. Colin and I, also joined by Christine Leahy and Fox College football analyst Joel Klatt. Glad to have you guys here. All right, let's talk Joe Mixon. A new assault allegation against Oklahoma running back surfaced today before being quickly disavowed by the man who made it, Anthony Hernandez. The father of one of Mixon's high school classmates posted on Facebook a few years ago that Mixon threw his daughter to the ground and hit her. The incident was raised during Mixon's 2014 assault trial, but today Hernandez says he was wrong and that Mixon was not involved at all, explaining, quote, "I have recently learned that a comment I made about Joe Mixon on social media a few years ago is now receiving a lot of attention. I want to explain that comment and clarify that I do not believe Joe ever did anything to hurt my daughter."
That's interesting. So why would this man make this statement in the first place? Either he was looking for a potential money grab back then, or he's been paid off now, or he just outright lied.
Colin, Mixon appears to be clear of wrongdoing here, but this is the kind of baggage he brings. Should teams take a chance on him?
I wouldn't. He also had a parking lot attendant issue. He also knocked out a girl. There's also this. Let's say this is nothing.
Yep.
When I saw the violence against that woman, my first takeaway was, oh, that was easy. There was no regret. He walked out. Ain't the first time.
I would have to partially agree. His level of decision making there, that was just atrocious. He had no business being there. And even if he was affected by the alcohol, he had no business being in that environment. The woman attacked him first, or the female, I should say, attacked him first, but he put himself in that environment, which is indicative of idiots. You'll find in life that idiots tend to always get caught up in claiming to be at the wrong place at the wrong time. No, you're an idiot. You're always at the right place at the right time to have bad things happen to you, because that's what happens to idiots.
A few weeks ago, I was at a college football practice with somebody who played against Joe Mixon in his league and said it was well known he had major temper issues. Listen, you can draft who you want, but I read a quote the other day from Bill Belichick, and he was talking to Urban Meyer, and Urban said, I learned something from Bill. Bill said, as I age, I'm just not going to draft players who I don't want to be around. And Urban said, wow.
Who said this, Bill Parcells?
Belichick told Urban Meyer.
Yeah, well, Bill Belichick, he doesn't want to be around Joe Mixon, but he was ready to be around Aaron Hernandez and half these other guys, the La Cosa Nostra that you can call the Patriots. Man, give me a break.
And my takeaway is, I wouldn't want to be around Joe Mixon.
Also, is he clear of wrongdoing in this situation? Because to me, that dad wrote something on Facebook for a reason, and we're now supposed to believe that he didn't mean it. It sounds to me like someone's intervening and say, take it back. I mean, I don't know that that's true, but it just seems strange for me for a father to post something like that, and then all of a sudden when Joe Mixon is going into the draft, he's going to take it back. And that's what is terrifying to me, for the NFL to continue to let players like this be drafted and to continue playing. It just, I will say this, I always think of the woman in the situation.
Of course you do, because you're another female with entitlement issues that worships yourself. Now, please let it be understood. I understand from a certain perspective that Joe Mixon's actions have to be heavily scrutinized, especially if he has more than one incident. All right? When you have more than one incident of doing idiotic things, that makes you an idiot. But you're gonna see a certain sentiment from this female as this segment goes on to show you that she has mental issues herself. So this really is just indicative of this Babylonian type of society that we live in, where you have idiocy on top of idiocy.
Who's been harmed physically, mentally, and she's watching the guy who hurt her make millions of dollars and be celebrated while she's sitting there, and some people aren't even believing her.
Who's not believing her? What is she talking about? She can't possibly be talking about the female on the video. The female on the video assaulted him first, and she got back what she got back in return. And now not only is everybody believing her, but everyone is willing to say that he should not have the right to make a living, and she should be given some form of restitution. If she's referring to the daughter of the man who made the comment on so-called Facebook, well, he's going to have to prove that the girl was violated in a court of law. All right, if he had loved his daughter that much, then he should have pursued it in a court of law.
This is certainly, for all of the reasons that we've laid out already, this is certainly a tough decision for any NFL organization. And right now, what they're worried about, and I don't want to minimize anything, but what they're worried about is the public outcry. Quite frankly, that's what the baggage he's bringing. That's the distraction that
They're not worried about any public outcry. They're worried about the harassment of the liberal sports media, who's going to be asking them questions every day about Joe Mixon. The same reason why they didn't want to draft that homosexual linebacker from Missouri, Michael Sam. They didn't want to be bothered with the harassment from the liberal media. They don't care about the so-called outcry from the fans. 99% of fans could care less what the players on their team do as long as they're playing well. You could have Freddy Krueger playing quarterback for you. Long as he's connecting on passes down the field, they could care less if he's killing people after the game. Believe me, most of these fans do not give a damn. They would not give a damn if their team drafts Joe Mixon if they needed a running back and he can get the job done.
That he's bringing. And really it's twofold. One, his actions were despicable. And two, people are mad about the way Oklahoma handled it. Let's remember, that's part of this as well. Why people are so upset with Joe Mixon.
He deserves more punishment.
They thought he deserved more punishment. He shouldn't have been able to, even after the suspension, come back and play at Oklahoma. I think that this would be a very different discussion if he would have been kicked out of Oklahoma and resurfaced at, let's say, hypothetically, Texas San Antonio. And he was a UTSA running back with a lot of talent that had served his, penance to society by having been kicked out of Oklahoma. I think it would be a different discussion.
The Caucasian always is ready to tell someone else how to serve their penance, but they never talk about their own penance. Isn't that interesting? I wonder what they think the penance for Josh Brown should be from the New York Giants, the punter who has over 30 domestic violence incidents on record with his wife. I wonder what they thought his penance should be when he never got suspended a game until the furor of last season.
And then two other things that I just think are truths about this situation. One is he's a first-round talent, okay? There's no doubt about that on the football field. And two, he brings a great deal of distraction. And so the chart that teams are going to have to look for when you're talking about should we take a chance on him, do his production value or does his value outpace his distraction? For some teams, they're going to say, like Colin or even New England, who's reportedly removed him from their draft board, that there's no level of production that are going to outpace the distraction of these instances.
Of course, and plus New England already knows they're most likely not going to have a chance to draft him anyway. So it's easy to take the moral high ground when you figure that the guy's going to be gone by the time you get to him in the draft board. New England already knew that Aaron Hernandez had allegations or associations with gang activity down there in Florida. They knew that he was allegedly associated with drive-by shootings down there in Florida, but they drafted him anyway. So come on, man, you could miss me with all that moral high ground bullshit.
I personally, as a GM, would be in that camp. He would be off my draft board, but certainly talented enough to get selected.
It's really interesting. We've had this word distraction. Is Kaepernick a distraction? Was Michael Sam a distraction? Was Joe Mixon a distraction? And there's been great debate on what a distraction is. Well, a distraction from Michael Sam to Kaepernick to Joe Mixon is, in the world of tunnel vision football coaches, do I have to answer a non-football question about you? That's what it comes down to. Bill Belichick.
No, well, that's part of it, but what it really comes down to is, am I going to have to answer non-football related questions about you, and then I'm not getting any production from you on the field? If Kaepernick had led the 49ers to a 13-3 record and had 40 touchdowns and 8 interceptions, and they went to the divisional round of the playoffs or the conference championship or the Super Bowl, nobody would have cared that he wasn't standing up for the flag. It would have become a bigger story, but it would have been even better for the media because they would have had a lot of different stories and a lot of different angles to cover the Kaepernick situation from. Same thing with Michael Sam. Michael Sam became too much of a problem when they realized he couldn't play. All right. So Joe Mixon, how much of a distraction he is going to be predicated completely on how good he is on the field.
Belichick barely is audible. So regardless of socially, politically, where you stand, is that Joe Mixon is going to, if drafted, create a series of days and weeks of non-football. Violence against women to me is a non-starter always, but I think that's how a lot of people, like Joe said, see it.
Yeah, I just want to be clear. I think everyone's raised reasonable points, and some I agree with, some I disagree with. Joel makes a point. He's got first-round talent. He's not going to go in the first round. He's going to lose a lot of money based on his talent. He'll be punished in that aspect. As it relates to, does he deserve this opportunity, this second chance? Again, my values and just my life experience. I'm just all transparent. I got some friends that previously did some reprehensible things. I got some family members, people I love. I got somebody I love to death that pistol whip a man right out in his front yard. It's one of the best human beings I know.
They don't care because they don't care about violence against men, particularly if it's so-called black men against black men. They don't care about that. All right, they can move past that. All right, the issue with them is that there was violence that he committed against a female, particularly a Caucasian female. That shows them. See, when they have a situation like the Joe Mixon situation where he laid hands not just on a female but on a Caucasian female, they say, well, wow, this guy really subconsciously he has no barriers to his violence, right? Because they've conditioned the black male to view things on a hierarchical level, meaning there's certain people that I must treat better than other people. For them to have video of him totally unloading on a Caucasian female, they say, wow, this guy, he really must be a sociopath because he doesn't even understand that the so-called white female is more important than any other demographic.
And so I've seen people do some really terrible things and overcome them. So I'm always pro a second chance. I hope that Joe Mixon does well with his second chance. I get why some teams would stay away from it. But I don't really want to live in a society where people can drum up so much controversy around you.
But did they or did he draw it up?
Yeah.
Well,
He started it. He started the issue. And like I said, he's an idiot. So, idiots are always going to get caught up in idiotic situations. But due to the over-exaltation of the female, yes, the liberal media has drummed this up. Right? What he did was not intelligent. What he did wasn't right. He never should have been in that situation. All right. She did something idiotic. She attacked him. He did something idiotic back. He totally hauled off and knocked her out. All right. It was two idiots together in one situation. That's going to be a recipe for disaster. All right. But it's without a doubt that the so-called liberal media has kept this thing going. And even to a degree, even though this network is not particularly liberal, they've also latched onto it because they also feed into the female superiority complex.
well, he drummed up some of it.
Well, no, I mean, he drummed up all of it. He knocked somebody out.
No. I get it.
People get knocked out all the time. So the issue is not that he knocked somebody out, is that he knocked out a Caucasian female.
And he paid a price.
Did he?
Well, he hasn't paid it yet. He may.
No, he went through the...
You see how the white female jumped in? She said, what price did he pay? What do you mean, what price did he pay? If it wasn't for this situation, he probably would be a top 10 draft pick. All right. Not only has he lost money, so when she says, what price did he pay? She wants to know how come he's not in prison. The reason why he's not in prison is because the video showed that he was attacked. And this is the issue with the media. They want to give you their own personal feelings about situations instead of doing their due diligence and couching their observations within the laws of the land. In the laws of the land, a person cannot hit another person. All right. That's what's known as assault. If you assault somebody and you get hit back, the person who hit you back is not going to be viewed with the same amount of evil intent or malice as they would if they had initiated the physical confrontation. Right now, in the world of popular opinion, there's never a reason to hit a woman. That's not going to fly in the judicial system. It's just not.
The court system. Listen, as much as we want to be experts on this, there are people that actually are experts on this, and they're in the court system.
Thank you, brother. Thank you.
And they handed out some judgments and some rulings that should, conceivably trump ours. They have expertise in this and human interaction, how to deal with these people. And so I get that we all want to live in the court of public opinion and we all want to punish people away from...
I think that
I'm all for second chances too. All for second chances. And for the record, Ray Rice, if he wanted to play or could play again, I would be okay with it because...
Yes, because he's gone around and he's gone through the emasculation ritual, right? Even though the video shows that his so-called wife was spitting on him, hitting him, he was hitting her. They have the normal dysfunctional relationship that a lot of oftentimes too many so-called black people view as being being with a so-called down ass chick or whatever they call these silly dysfunctional relationships where people curse each other out and hit each other. Right. But Ray Rice was put through the emasculation program where he got on TV and cried. They love when they can get the black man on TV to cry and apologize. And Joe Mixon already went through that. Right. He already got on TV and cried and begged for everybody to love him again. So I don't know what else she's looking for other than maybe for him to be castrated.
Because he's taken the steps to fix his issues. He's expressed complete remorse. As far as we know, but I'm saying I will give someone a second chance, and I'll give them the benefit of the doubt if they come out and explain that they're sorry and fix their issues and are moving forward to be a better person. Absolutely, you get a second chance. I just haven't seen it out of him, and I don't.
How would you know? Who are you, his parole officer? Give me a break.
And I don't think it's fair that he's going to go and be celebrated in the NFL and make tons more money than this woman could ever.
That's the issue. She said she doesn't want him to be celebrated in the NFL and make tons more money than the woman. All right? That's the issue.
Ever even dream
That's
about.
an interesting point, Christine, because I think as a public, I think that our level of outcry or rage against this instance or a second chance in particular, has everything to do with the monetary value of that second chance.
Of course, because you're jealous that he can do something that you can't. You're already jealous of him because he's a so-called black male with extraordinary physical abilities. But then on top of that, you mean he has the nerve to knock out a so-called white female and then he's going to get millions on top of that? Oh, hell no.
If you're going to go just get a regular job, people say, good for him. You know, he's getting up back. Maybe he's expressed remorse. He's trying to get back on his feet. But when the level of monetary value for that second chance is potentially in the millions, and then the fame is there, and the accolades and the adulation, the fan bases, it doesn't sit well.
I don't even care about the money. I just think
that's a lie. You just said that he was going to be making millions more than that woman could ever dream of. So you don't even remember your own lies. Normal self-worshiping female disassociation issues mentally. All right. A lot of these self-worshiping females, they have mental issues. She just said that her issue with him was that he was going to be making millions more than the woman could ever dream of. Now she's saying the issue is not the money. So she's a pathological liar.
I just think sports fans in general are so quick to forget some of the things that these athletes.
And that's her fear because she knows, like I said already, and that shows you that they were lying when they started the segment. Right? The issue is not the fan outcry because the fans don't give a shit. All right. Long as he can play, they're not going to care. The issue is that the so-called liberal media, particularly the liberal females in the media, they want to make sure that they can take out their pound of flesh from this guy. Being vindictive. Most of these liberal females in the media, they're going through their life every day depressed. They have relationship problems that they try to express in trying to tear down male athletes.
I don't think I disagree with you. I am always willing to give people second chances for inappropriate words, not for inappropriate actions. And I don't feel less human because I consider it standards.
Yeah, no, I don't want you to feel less human. I'm not asking, because everybody has a right to their opinions. But again, I'll just say that there's a lot of factory workers, or used to be factory workers before our factories all left, that involved in these situations that got to go back to work. And no one, there was no public outrage. People get to continue on with their journey in their life. And again, Joe Mixon may be O.J. Simpson, who knows? But he also might be Malcolm X, or he might be someone else. Go read up on Malcolm X. His history was not.
Look at the white female. She's already getting upset and offended.
Was not the greatest. Went to prison.
If you have it within yourself to strike a woman, there is something seriously wrong with you.
That statement right there shows you that she really shouldn't be on the panel. Because number one, like I stated initially, she wants to be worshipped as a goddess, which is the issue with most females in Western civilization or Western society. She said, if you have it within you to hit a woman, there's something seriously wrong with you. She didn't say, if you have it within you to attack another human being for no reason, there's something seriously wrong with you. That would have been accurate. All right. For her to say, if you have it within you to hit a woman, there's something seriously wrong with you. Incumbent in that statement is that there's nothing that a female can do to you, no matter how evil or malicious or whatever her intent is. Even if it's murderous intent, there's no reason for you to hit a female. All right. That shows you that, like I said before, A lot of these people are walking around and they look regular on the outside, but on the inside they have 1,001 demons floating around in their skull. All right. There's a reason to do anything to anybody depending on the situation that you're in at the moment. That's why you have a judicial system.
Well, especially knock them out, walk away, show no empathy, don't go back and help. I mean, to me, I can't watch that and think, that was a once-in-a-lifetime moment.
No.
Like, all of a sudden, we've got a parking lot incident. We have something on Facebook. I met the high school former teammate. Like, I've got 4 connects now that are like, oh, he's dangerous.
At least Colin Cowherd is doing his due diligence, and he claims to have resources or people that claim to know this man, Joe Mixon, right? Who I said from the start is an idiot. And like the overweight brother said, he could be O.J. Simpson. Who knows? All right, or who this society depicts O.J. Simpson as. Right? He could be a so-called sociopath underneath all that. Right? He could be Ray Caruth. Who knows? But he could also be somebody who's going to move past this situation.
That's the truth in my...
And the fact of the matter is that the judicial system that people claim to respect has already pretty much, they've already pretty much levied the punishment to him. So people have to move on and accept that.
My world.
And again, the world that some people come from, a different world is, I know people with worse rap sheets that have overcome worse. So we all have different...
What's worse than hitting a woman?
Wow, did you hear what this chick said? She said, what's worse than hitting a woman? He said murder, and she just shook her head. Like I said before, the issue is not the violence. The issue is the violence against the so-called woman. Had he been in a fight with another man and knocked that man out and stomped on his head, she would not have had the issue that she has because he defended himself against that female. I guarantee you, this woman has a lot of baggage, relationship baggage on her. Now, supposedly she's dating a black man. So you know that black man that she's dating right now is a complete simp. All right. For anybody to be with a female with that type of mindset, he has to be a complete simp.
Yeah. Coming up.
But anyway, I just want to touch on that just as a precursor because they're not done with Joe Mixon. All right. Joe Mixon, he better be like Forrest Gump. He better run and he better keep running because they're not done with him by a long sight. All right. But anyway, peace.